Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Broken Crayon Still Color Podcast. I'm your host, Tara, and of course, I have my slightly permanent, um, special guest,
Uh,
Brandon, with us today. And today's topic is a topic that me and Brandon kind of been having, I would say, for the past couple of weeks, maybe. It's just some conversations we've been having. Centered around kind of the male female species, kind of men and women differences. So we're going to title this episode today as Sex Wars, and we're talking sex as far as male and female, not as far as the activity of sex, unless it goes there. So
nasty.
I do want to preface this episode by saying, of course, by default, me and Brandon are married, but throughout this conversation, we will not be speaking on it or of it rather as husband and wife. We will be speaking on it as woman and man, as female and male, from that perspective, not as husband and wife. So some of the questions, some of the conversations may be like, well, why do men do this? Or why do women do this? Or things of that nature. So I don't want it to be taken as, oh, that must be something they're dealing with, or oh, that must be something that married folks deal with. It's not a marriage conversation. This is just the male female species as a whole. So one of the things, or one of the questions, rather, I guess, how this conversation
Right.
sparked um, is that Brandon and I were talking about.
hmm
Okay. Wanted to make sure our volume was picking up. So hold on just a second. Um, okay, here we go. So we were talking about emotions and feelings, based on why men do certain things, why women do certain things, why do both parties don't do some of the same things? Could this have happened based on beginning of time? Um, and one of the questions I asked Brandon in the midst of the conversation was, well, let me back up. I prefaced the conversation. This is the most recent conversation we had by telling him that I saw a TikTok that said men fall in love faster than women. Men just control it better than women. And he gave me the response, which was,
Um.
what was your response? You had a good
To
response to it.
yeah. So I think that I don't think it's necessarily the fact that men fall in love. If we're talking romantically, I don't think that we fall in love quicker. I think we just have a more quicker reaction to what that person is actually offering. Um, and it could be from multiple people. So it's hard for us to fall in love in totality quicker than women because I often tend to think that um, women have certain priorities and certain kind of deal breakers that has to be everything has to be checked off for the most part for them to actually say that they're actually falling in love with someone. But a male in some cases don't have that lengthy of a checklist. Um, and sometimes we really don't know what we like until it's actually offered to us. So it all depends on what that person is able to give. And a man has a little bit more flexibility to kind of work with what's there based on the woman. They tend to fall in love quicker because they see this as a checklist. So if he has 5 out of the 10 qualities, then that's a good person for them to start with. And if they don't have those rest of the 5, then they feel like it's easier for them to, help that person reach those next 5 qualities that they're looking for. But with a male, most of the time we really don't know what we're looking for until it's right before our face. And we're like, oh, that's cool. Okay. I can work with that. So we tend to have the ability to work with less more than females do.
That made us sound very complex almost. Like,
But y'all complex. They really are.
uh, I can't say that we are complex. I think Um, I would like to believe that most women, yes, and I think the women can agree, we do know what we want.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the checklist is concerned, we know what the deal breakers are. Much like you all, we know what we want when it's presented to us. The main thing we want is some level of stability.
Mm-hmm.
We want someone that listens.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I can't honestly say those are the things that would make us fall in love. To a certain extent, it may make us interested in the person, but I don't know if that would make us fall in love. Um,
Well, in your response just now, you had a lot of general buckets, but will you honestly agree that within those general kind of overhead buckets, that there's some extra layers of detail into it?
I mean, well, yeah,
Okay then.
but I,
So that's what I'm saying. Men don't normally have set buckets unless we have actually been through horrible relationship after horrible relationship. Then we start to form those kind of deal breakers. Like, okay, this is what I need. Women, y'all coming at off the bat because at the end of the day, y'all trained more from a young child up to now to what to expect from a man, right? So y'all automatically have some level of things that y'all want that man to be able to do and be able to kind of meet you at. But a guy's like, okay, is she crazy? No. Would she slash my tires? No. She cute? Okay. Let's see what this goes.
that makes men sound very simple.
We are. And that's the thing that drives y'all crazy. Because y'all complex, y'all think about things more, but we deal with things from the face value. Y'all deal with a lot of scenarios like what if this happens or what if this happens or what if he says this and I'm gonna say this. But at the end of the day, we deal with the present time. Like what is the facts? And if the facts are there, then we change our approach. But the thing is, y'all already have 3 or 4 steps ahead of us, and that's why it's always goes back to a woman is intrigued by what they hear, and a man's intrigued by what they see. We see things all the time, but in order for y'all to hear things, y'all have to hear it and actually digest it and formulate a thought of it in your mind. We're simple, and it's not a bad thing because at the end of the day, if men were complex just as much as women were complex, then nobody would ever take the opportunity to actually know the other. So sometimes complexity is needed, and sometimes you got to realize that just see it for what it is. Like there's no extra layer, there's no hidden agenda. Like it's just that. And if it is a hidden agenda, it's not for you to always try to prepare for every single time. And I think that's why women don't have the conversations that they need to have with a man because at the end of the day, they're expecting that man to think like them. And the man's like, it's really not that serious. And if it ever becomes that serious, we have the ability to adjust quicker on the spot than what y'all do.
Right.
Because the things y'all already formulated an idea of how it's going to go. Then you prepare your reactions, whether it's verbal or whether it's physical, as far as whether you disconnect from that person or you know what to say when that person says something to you. But with a guy, we deal with everything at face value. Like, what is it? Okay. For instance, if somebody says, "Oh, that shirt, what color is that?" I'm like, "It's black." But then y'all be like, "No, it's black with a couple of white streaks in it." And then then I thought I saw a blue tag at the bottom of it, so it's not all the way black. It's like the base of the shirt is black.
Right.
So it doesn't make us simplicity doesn't mean stupidity.
No, 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 not at all. I just think I mean, from what you're explaining, we're a little bit more detail oriented. We're a little
Hmm.
bit more, in a sense,
Hmm.
has a bad connotation to it, but we're a little bit more touchy feely. We want to know what you're thinking because men are not always the most um, verbal at what they're thinking. So, yes, a woman will take that
Hmm.
and, okay, what are they thinking? What are they thinking now? am I
Mhm.
doing this right? Do they
Mhm.
like this? Do they not like that? We do tend to overthink certain situations and tend to
Mhm.
overthink certain things, especially going, I think, into meeting someone new or if you're entertaining someone, dating someone, getting to know someone, whatever the case is. We try to, I guess, overthink the situation because men are not very upfront with their feelings. Whereas women, for the most part, I would say a good majority of women, we tend to kind of, and we probably overshare our feelings at times if we're
Mhm.
comfortable enough. And if we don't get that same energy reciprocated back, it's just like, okay, he's not feeling me. He doesn't like me.
Right.
Something's wrong. Let me check. Let me check. Let me check. Especially if you're dealing with somebody who's dealing with some insecurities. And it goes down
Mhm.
a very dark tunnel from there. So I understand what you're saying, and I kind of can agree to a certain extent where men are very simple. Um, there's a lot of, I
Nuance.
guess, nuances
Mhm.
about men that women have issues with, and that being one of them, where men are not very vocal about their emotions, their feelings. They're not going to sit there and express that on the first date or the second date or something like that.
Mhm.
Whereas a woman, they would, in the comments of that particular post, where it said men fall in love with women quicker, they just know how to control it. A lot of the women were getting upset because it was like, what do you mean they know how to control it better? What is that supposed to mean? This post was made by a man, I bet.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
because it made it seem like, women go overboard with their
And I
feelings.
and I guess the devil is in the details because it's saying fall in love, and I don't think that's true. I think
Mm-hmm.
we love certain qualities about someone quicker than what women do. So it doesn't really, me personally, I don't think that it means that the person actually falling in love. I just think that a man loves things about women quicker because we're going on based on what we see, right? And y'all based on what you hear. So I think the in love thing is part of the
That's where it
that's
got
that's
kind
where it kind of
of.
had the separation.
And I think for the most part, and I know as a woman, this is probably uh I probably would lose points for saying this. I probably could be crucified for saying this, if you will. I think women sometimes mistake falling in love um for infatuation.
Hmm.
Um or we get our emotions wrapped up and we mistake that for being in love
I,
quicker. Um,
I'll let you finish. Go ahead.
um, or we sometimes can confuse the emotions,
Right.
like loving someone and being in love with someone, or some people say, I've seen it where some people will mention that they feel like they fall in love too quick or they fall for someone too quick, and that men and women, I've seen both parties make, um, you know, kind of telling themselves whatever, when I fall for folks too quick, and then
Hmm.
it kind of scares them off.
Right.
And I think with that, I think with falling someone too quick, they express it quickly.
Hmm.
Um, I can only speak for a woman. I'm a
Yeah.
woman. I can only speak for a woman. I don't see that as being a bad thing.
Hmm.
If I think if you are going to do that, if you are going to express your emotions or whatever to a person quickly as a woman,
Hmm.
if that's your plight, you're willing to take that step. You know what? I'm gonna lay it all out in line. You then have to be mature enough to accept if they say I don't feel the same way,
Hmm.
and then also accept them saying if they say okay, maybe we should back this thing up a little bit, or maybe. But I think what ends up happening in this situation, just from hearing about it, this has never been my experience, just from hearing about it.
Hmm.
I think men mess up at that stage a little bit because when a woman does decide to get emotional quicker than what the man thinks they ought to, that's when they throw that C word up, that crazy word. She crazy. You know, she,
Hmm.
wanted to move in after 2 months, something
Hmm.
like that. And I So that's where I think women, and not like I said, not saying all women. I've heard men say they felt like they fought, they fell for someone too fast.
Hmm.
I think that's where the two parties kind of clash, and that could be on the opposite spectrum as well, where the man may fall too fast for the woman. Um, but I think as two mature adults, if somebody
Hmm.
does express that feeling to you, you know, quicker or whatever the case
Right.
is, you have to then decide, okay,
I,
the person saying it has to accept if the other person says, whoa. And then the person receiving that then has to be mature enough to say, okay, how can I handle this delicately? How can I accept what this person is saying?
mhm.
And you can't make them feel silly for their feelings if that's their feelings. So how do I handle it correctly? And I think when it comes to emotions and feelings, personally, this is my personal opinion. I don't feel like men. I think that's where men kind of mess up in that area. They don't delicately know how to handle those type of situations when it's expressed
I think since we're talking about sex, I think the female has a different upbringing than the male does. Females literally fall in love with the ideal of falling in love.
to them. I'll let
You
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 finish.
look you look at the movies that come out. The woman wants to fall in love so bad that they end up sometimes making decisions that either put them in a worse scenario or fall in love with the wrong person, or not not knowing that whether that person's motives is true or not, because at the end of the day your whole agenda is that i I need to fall in love because I've seen it happen. So you become infatuated with the idea of falling in love, that everything becomes like a critical piece, even when you're just meeting someone. Like that's why I think the difference is men don't grow up with the idea of like, yeah, man, I can't wait to fall in love. You ask a man, you gonna get married? Yeah, yeah. One of these days, we're gonna see what happens. But the thing is, everything with y'all is based on a certain time frame. That's why people start making irrational decisions by the time they get to their late 20s, early 30s, close to 40s, and they're not married and haven't started a family. And they're like, okay, I want to be able to have children, all this. So you
Mhm.
end up, because you still have the idea of, I want to feel that feeling of falling in love. So you end up sometimes making decisions on the aspect of falling in love instead of falling in love with the right person, because you're trying to fulfill that overall fantasy and idea and what family or what society has put before you all the time. This man's gonna knock me off my feet. He's gonna treat me like a princess. He's gonna cater to me. And the thing is, it's like it's more of an idea of what you're trying to bring to reality in your own head. But with the male, it's like we don't have that to start off, like that pressure of having to fall in love, to have to meet the right person, to meet the right girl. Sometimes, to be honest with you, 9 times out of 10, we stumble on the right girl by accident. We really do. Like it's very seldom that a man sees a woman and say, you know what, that's gonna be the woman I marry. It's just the fact that as time evolves and you get to know that person, you be like, I guess I could spend the rest of my life. But with y'all from the outside coming in, before you even getting into a relationship or introduction, you're infatuated with the idea of falling in love because every single detail leading up to you falling in love is going to matter. How did he approach me? What was the first thing he said? How did he look? How did he smell? Where's the first place he took me? And like all that is building upon a story that you're it's like I feel like this is building towards like a Hollywood story. And so that's why I think that that's where the friction kind of comes in, that because men are not coming into every relationship looking to fall in love. They're coming into the relationship wanting to specifically get to know you better. And whatever you make available, then they'll take it and work with it. Either they'll work for it with good or work for it with bad. But we're not coming into every encounter with a female saying, oh, this could be the one. But that has been drilled in you guys' head. Just like I said, this is my opinion. Y'all can kill me in the comments if you want to. But it seems like women have that overriding pressure of falling in love, having a good man. He takes care of you, he provides for you. But with a man, nobody's really asking a man at a single man at family functions or at social functions that's in his mid-30s. You ain't got married yet? You all right? But with women, it's like, oh, you dating someone? Oh, you think he could be the one? It's like we don't have that pressure. So sometimes women end up making rash decisions just to because they want to get that dream out of their head into reality. And even if it's going to require more work in reality, then at least they need to get it out their head. Like, okay, I fell in love. All right, let me get to work. Just my opinion.
I can kind of agree with you on that because um, now I was just having this conversation with someone. A lot of the movies we grew up watching, especially Disney movies, at the end of most Disney movies, the princess end up getting her man at the end. In Cinderella,
Mm-hmm.
the Slipper Fish, she got her man.
Mm-hmm.
Snow White, she got her man. Sleeping Beauty, she got her man.
Mm-hmm.
Little Mermaid, she got legs and got her man.
Mm-hmm.
Like all of the movies ended with the princess getting the man.
Mm-hmm.
And I think growing up, that was kind of the woman is supposed to make herself available, especially if you grew up in church. No, you don't go out and see the man. The man is supposed to see you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think,
And it's always with that caveat of seeking your husband, not seeking someone that you can either form a platonic relationship with
right,
or something
just
else. Like,
somebody you can, and I'm a millennial, so I say a millennial, just somebody you can kick it with. It's not
yeah.
necessarily, no, we're not getting married. We're just cool, we're friends, but it's always if you're going to date, you're dating to marry.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what ends up happening as you get older, and something typically happens at 30, and I don't know if it's the same for men, but something typically happens at 30
Mm-hmm.
where it's like a light switch.
Yep.
And, if you are married, you're like, huh, did I do it too soon? And then if you aren't married, you're like, huh, well, what's wrong with me?
Right.
And I think for both parties involved, it's just societal views on relationships.
Mm-hmm.
The woman is pushed to get married, and like you said, the man, nobody really bothers them.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how old they get, and if they aren't married after a certain age, and they've been seen to date a lot of girls, it's like, oh, well, he must have just like dating a bunch of girls. He didn't want to get married. He don't want to settle down. He just like sowing his royal oats. He just like, that's usually
So your royal roots.
that's just usually what it is. So I can agree on that where it's kind of how we were raised. You mentioned marrying the right person,
Mm-hmm.
and we've heard that our entire lives. Everybody tells you to make sure you marry the right person.
Mm-hmm.
How does one make sure they marry the right? Like, what does that mean? What does the right person mean? What makes them right? For a man, what makes the woman right?
Well, it's I'll say it's two, maybe threefold. The first thing is that the person that you believe God sent to you. And then number two, are they the right person not saying that that person gets everything right.
Mm.
So sometimes we go into relationships from, I say, females. They want that man to be perfect. They want that man to be polished. They want to be buttoned up. He's going to have to do this. He can't have this quality. Can't have that quality. He has to be borderline perfect in order for her to even start considering him as a future partner. So from that standpoint, I'll say many women have forsaken a man because he didn't have every quality that she wanted, but it could have been the right person for her. Because if we look at it, if we look at it on the flip side, y'all have certain demands and certain criteria of what y'all want from a woman. But how many times does that woman turn around and ask the man, "What are you looking for?" We tend to have the ability to work more with less. And I think the less that y'all have to work, the more y'all fall in love with that man.
You said the less we
The
have.
less you have to work, the more you fall in love.
Back up.
Think about it. Think about it.
We gonna back up.
Think
We
about
gonna
it.
back up.
Mm-hmm.
You said you guys can work with less,
Correct.
meaning you don't require much.
Sorry, a little technical difficulty. Just a second. Got a shortage in one of our audio cords, so we apologize for that. Okay.
So could it be that you guys require less? Could it, and just a question, could it be that you require less because you don't want to be held to the same standard that you require?
No.
So it's like if I require less, then less would be required for me?
No.
Okay.
It means just that. Y'all fall in love with the person that requires you to work the least. So if he has pretty much all your things on your checklist, then that's easier for you to fall in love. But with men, we tend to deal with and accept what we get. How many times does a man tell a woman, "You got to have X, Y, and Z for me to even consider you as a spouse or as a mate"? It's usually where the man has to do some more work to prove himself.
Well, whose fault is that? Now, just asking if the man does require, I'm very fair,
Hmm.
very fair. If the man is requiring more, it should be his job to say that.
But at the same time, we don't necessarily know everything that we're going to require from jump because we're not thinking about it like that. We
Right.
make our request known once we realize that, hey, I really don't like that. Can you stop that? But the thing is, y'all come in already with this checklist, like you can't do this, you can't do that. I won't accept this. I won't accept that. And
I mean, well, I won't necessarily,
hmm
I won't necessarily say, well, and if you going out to be with your friends after midnight, that's a no. And if you, I
no,
won't say that.
I'm not saying to that detail. I'm just saying I feel like this. We're gonna do exercise,
Okay.
and I want you to think about the qualities that you was looking for in a person before you met me.
Okay.
So just think of a random number.
Random number. Okay.
Random number of things that you was looking for. So out of those things, how many things you got on your list? And I'll tell you how many things I got on my list.
I would say my top 4
So okay, so you said top 4. So how many are there
overall.
overall?
I don't
Think,
know.
just think about it.
I would say
Because I'm sure you how complex y'all are versus the simplicity of what we are.
of things I probably was looking for in a mate.
Hmm.
I mean, without getting too technical, I would say maybe 10. I mean, of course, just you got to get the simple things out of the way. I want them to be kind,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Kind. Okay.
employed,
Employed. Okay.
you know, just honest, respectful,
Mm-hmm.
ambitious,
Mm-hmm.
funny,
Mm-hmm.
those things.
Okay. All right. So let's say employed. Let's start there.
Okay.
Would you entertain a man before you got married? Would you entertain a man in your adult life that was not employed?
Depending on the circumstance.
But I'm saying, would that be a red flag immediately? If at your age now,
At my age now, if I was not married, would I
exactly,
entertain someone? And when you say entertain, does that mean
like they,
date? Like, would I date
hmm
someone that was unemployed? Depends on why they were unemployed.
speaking from person that is employed, I know that ain't her answer. I know that ain't her answer.
No. And the reason why I said that is
Okay, let me ask you this: do you think that'll be a deal breaker for a guy if a woman was not
probably not.
employed? Okay.
But for me, you asked
Mm-hmm.
me, I'm just saying, depending on the
Mm-hmm.
circumstance. If they were just laid off from a job, if they, took ill, if they had to quit. I mean, it just depends on why they were employed at that time. If they just were like, no, I was tired and I didn't feel like going to work, then no. But it just depends on.
But what female was like? Yeah, I really don't like doing 9 to 5. I'd rather be a stay-at-home mom
It depends.
or a stay-at-home spouse.
It depends.
Come on, come on, wiggle your way.
It depends
Mm-hmm.
on the person who's dating them. If you want to date somebody that's unemployed, that's your prerogative. For me, it would depend on the reason why that person was employed. Now, if you are actively looking for a job, okay. Now, if you just gonna sit at home and not do anything, that's an issue.
Mm-hmm.
But I would prefer if I'm employed that.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
One of my things were ambition. So, like I said, extenuating circumstances for the reason the person was employed. Of course, anything could have
Unemployed.
happened. Unemployed. I'm sorry.
Right.
Anything could have happened.
Mm-hmm.
But if you were unemployed by choice and you didn't have a legitimate reason for being unemployed and you're deciding to stay unemployed for whatever reason,
Mm-hmm.
or the reason is that I just don't feel like doing that anymore,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just for pure laziness,
Mm-hmm.
probably not. No, would be my answer.
Okay. But what if a man met a girl and she was like, "Yeah, I'm not employed. I don't work." No.
Then that's his choice if he wants to do it. That would be on. That would be.
But what I'm saying is that wouldn't be a deal breaker for a guy as much as it is for her. Because again, we're expected to provide.
Right, and that's
No.
just the expectation piece of it. Not saying it's right or
Yeah.
wrong, because there are plenty of men out here whose wives or girlfriends or whoever are stay-at-home moms, stay-at-home wives or whatever, who do not work. And if your house is able to do that, then
Oh, I tell you, she be getting on this Beyonce internet and just be out here lying through her teeth.
what did I lie about?
Me and you have both admitted. Now, my job, my profession allows me a little flexibility where I have certain days I go to the office and there's certain days I can work from home. Her profession requires her to be at the physical site every single day. And so she has said out her mouth, even during the pandemic, Brand, the times that you work from home and you see me and the girls out to the car and you go back inside, like, I hope one of the neighbors ever looked at you like a bum, like, oh, he living off that girl. You see what I'm saying? So she get on here and lie to y'all, knowing exactly how the perception is. So I say all of that just to say,
I would like to rebuttal
uh,
that
mm,
statement.
you want to rebut or you want to retract?
I would like to address the
Okay,
comment that was made.
okay.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
I did.
Wiggle. Go ahead and
I
wiggle.
did say.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if the neighbors think you are a bum. I did, in fact, say
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
However,
Mm-hmm.
it was based on the optics of me leaving with the girls in the morning and him, of course, going out to warm the car, waving, never leaving the house. It's like, I wonder what the
Mm-hmm.
neighbors think. They may think,
Mm-hmm.
I did, in fact, say that. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
However, that
Mm-hmm.
had nothing to do with him being unemployed because he, in fact, was employed because he.
But the optics were, it looks like I was living off of you. That girl go to work every. You said out your mouth. That girl go to work every morning. The only thing he do is every other day or whatever day that he not being in the office, he go to the porch and wave as she backing out the driveway. See, see, and so like I said, I use that example because there are certain deal breakers with women right off the bat that they're not going to tolerate from a guy.
Well, okay, right.
But the thing is, a guy will work with less, but y'all want it.
Right.
And so, and another example is this. Let's say, let's say if if the guy say, I've been in, 5 relationships in the past 5 years, a woman will automatically think, okay, yes, something wrong with you now. But if a woman says, I've been in a relationship, about 5 relationships in the past year, the guy's like, oh, okay, I've had a couple myself.
Men, in in all due
Hmm.
respect, men don't care about other relationships before them, though.
And that's what I'm saying.
But women have to. Like, there is
Mhm.
a.
Why do you have to? Because it has to make sense on the preconceived list that you already have.
Hey guys, thank you for joining the Broken Crayon Still Color podcast today. Join us next week for part 2 of episode 11, Sex Wars.